Saturday, January 25th. In Berlin, the Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, expresses his disquiet about the situation of the Italian forces in Albania and North Africa, and states that in his own view, and that of Hitler, Mussolini has become a liability who has lost a great deal of prestige. RAF planes attacked the submarine bases of Lorient in France. In Bucharest, in Romania, the head of state, Ion Antonescu, addresses the nation with a speech accusing Horia Sima of having provoked the insurrection. All newspapers that support the Legionnaire movement are suspended. Sima, the former vice president and head of the rebel Legionnaires, is imprisoned, along with the former Minister of the Interior, Petroviescu, and several others held responsible for the uprising. In the Mediterranean, several Royal Navy ships come under attack from German planes off the coast of Crete. In North Africa, the Allied armies are only 5 kilometers away from Derna in Libya. In East Africa, the Allies continue to advance towards Icota in Eritrea. In Abyssinia, Ethiopia, heavy fighting continues in the eastern region of Moterna, while the British continue their cleanup operation against the enemy in the border area of Kenya. Sunday, January 26th. In the Greek-Italian War, Count Ciano, the foreign minister and son-in-law of Mussolini, takes command of a bomber squadron as lieutenant colonel in the Regia Aeronautica. The Italian forces begin a counterattack with the intention of recovering the city of Klissura in Albania. At a meeting in Berlin, Heinrich Himmler and Hitler agree on the role of the SS in the planned invasion and occupation of the Soviet Russia. After the meeting, Himmler informs the commanders of the Schutzstaffel that the Slavic population is to be reduced by 30 million people. In London, Wendell Willkie, the Republican Party candidate in the 1940 U.S. elections, who is now in favor of ending isolationism, meets the British Foreign Minister Anthony Eden and Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The Luftwaffe attacks ships sailing alone across the North Sea off the coast of Orford Ness and north of Great Yarmouth in the mouth of the River Yar. Some ships suffer serious damage. In North Africa, more than 30,000 Italian prisoners have been captured at Tobruk on the Libyan coast. The British have also seized 22 tanks and 22 light armored vehicles. To the southeast, in the city of Derna, heavy fighting continues. In East Africa, air and land battles between the British and the Italians intensify. Monday, January 27th. The American ambassador in Japan, Joseph Grew, informs Roosevelt's government that the Imperial High Staff is making plans to attack U.S. air and naval bases in the Pacific, in particular Pearl Harbor. The warning is ignored by the American Naval Intelligence Service. With the backing of Churchill and Roosevelt, a high-level British commission arrives in Washington for meetings with members of the U.S. administration to analyze the situation in Europe. RAF bombers attack industrial areas of Hanover in Germany. During a conference at Berlin, Grand Admiral Erich Raeder, the head of the Kriegsmarine, acknowledges that the submarine is a decisive weapon in the fight against Britain, something that Vice Admiral Karl Donitz, chief of the U-Boot-Waffe, has been claiming for a long time. In Romania, the head of state, Ion Antonescu, forms an executive mainly made up of military men. Mihai Antonescu becomes the new vice president of the Council of Ministers. In East Africa, Allied troops advance in the sector of Metemma, in the east of Abyssinia, Ethiopia, while the 4th Indian Division takes Agordat on the river Barka in the lowlands of western Eritrea. In Italian Somalia, the British forces advance on all fronts. Tuesday, January 28th. In Berlin, General Franz Halder, chief of the General Staff of the OKH, the Army High Command, has a difficult meeting with his commander-in-chief, General Walter von Brauchitsch, regarding the planned invasion of the Soviet Union. Halder is convinced that the invasion will end up weakening Germany. Meanwhile, Hitler decides that in Operation Marita, Bulgaria will be invaded as late as possible to avoid raising Soviet suspicions. He is counting on the possibility of occupying bases ceded by the Bulgarians who fear a Turkish invasion. After a respite of several days, London is bombed again by German planes. The RAF attacks Naples and destroys the seaplane base at Bamba in eastern Italy. In the United States, experts set to work on cracking Japan's Purple Code with the Japanese equivalent of the German Enigma machine. It will enable the British and the Americans to decode some of the Japanese messages. General Marshall, Chief of Staff of the Army, declares that the bill to provide assistance to the democracies will help Britain obtain victory in the war. The new American ambassador to Britain is to be John Winant. In Romania, Horia Sima manages to escape from prison with the help of some of his followers. In North Africa, fighting continues to the east of Derna in Libya. Wednesday, January 29th. In Washington, a conference between the British and American General Staffs begins. They consider possible joint action against the Axis powers in the event of the United States entering the conflict. The main objective will be the defeat of the Third Reich. Germany will be the priority, according to Plan D, outlined in the document ABC-1. An American delegation is to visit Britain to look for suitable sites for American bases. The American Secretary of War, Henry Stimson, declares that Italy is in trouble, the German army is scattered, and the Japanese more so. The Axis powers are vulnerable. In the Gusen concentration camp in Austria, the first crematorium is put into operation. In Greece, the Prime Minister and General Ioannis Metaxas dies. Alexandros Korizis, a lawyer and governor of the Bank of Athens, takes his place. In Madrid, the Romanian ambassador, Madu Ghenea, a member of the Legionnaire Party, is dismissed. Luftwaffe HE-111 aircraft based in Italy mine the Suez Canal, which has to be closed to shipping. From Kenya, British troops commanded by General Alan Cunningham attack Italian garrisons in Somalia. Thursday, January 30th. In London, President Roosevelt's special envoy, Harry Hopkins, has lunch with King George VI and Queen Elizabeth in Buckingham Palace, but they are forced to take refuge in the air raid shelter during the German bombing raid. The American press announces that all British companies with branches in the United States and British assets in American companies will be sold to the government. In Berlin, on the 8th anniversary of his becoming chancellor, Hitler delivers a speech in the Sportspalast that is simultaneously translated into 26 languages. He says that 1941 will be the year of final victory and of the establishment of a new order in Europe. He also blames the Jews for starting the war and threatens to drive them out of Europe. In North Africa, the British 8th Army and its allies take Derna on their march along the Libyan coast. The Italians retreat westwards toward El Agheila, site of a fascist concentration camp for Bedouins. In the Battle of the Atlantic, U-94, commanded by Herbert Kupich, sinks the British merchant ship Rushpool. U-106, captained by Jürgen Osten, sends the Argentine vessel Seostris to the bottom of the ocean, and U-93, commanded by Klaus Korth, sinks the Alcaterini, the King Robert, and the W.B. Walker. Friday, January 31st. In Berlin, the WFA, the General Staff of the Wehrmacht, headed by General Jodl, has prepared the first plans for the German invasion of the Soviet Union. Field Marshals von Lieb and von Rundstedt expressed their doubts to General Walter von Brauchitsch, Commander-in-Chief of the OKH, the Army High Command, concerning the planned invasion. They want Brauchitsch to ask Hitler to reconsider his decision, but the Commander-in-Chief of the OKH is unwilling. In the United States, the Secretary of the Navy, Frank Knox, believes that the Germans will invade Britain within 90 days. Summer Wells, the Undersecretary of State and advisor to President Roosevelt, warns that if the Axis powers win the war, the Americas will be in danger. In London, tension mounts as the expectation of a German invasion grows and the heavy air raids continue. The First Lord of the Admiralty, Albert Alexander, declares at a speech in Preston that the greatest hour in the country's history is approaching. In North Africa, German and Italian planes renew their bombing of the Suez Canal in Egypt. In the Far East, the governments of Indochina and Thailand sign an armistice with Japanese mediation.